Good day, everybody. Woo. I'm Steve Farrell, the co-founder, executive director of Humanities Team. You see who is here with me today? Yes, Gregg Braden coming in live from his home down in New Mexico. I'm coming to you live from Boulder, Colorado. I'm going to introduce Gregg here in a moment, but hey, Gregg, thanks for joining me this morning.
Hey, Steve, I'm very much alive today on this beautiful pre-Thanksgiving day here in the U.S. And I am coming to you from our studio just outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. This is an unscripted program. It's you and I together, and I'm going to follow your lead, Steve. I'm looking forward to what we do today.
Oh boy, yeah, this is so neat. Thank you, Gregg, for being here. Those of you that follow Gregg, and we're on Gregg's channel, so we're also, I'll shout out to the Sign Network, John Raymer, Humanities Stream Plus folks that are right here in the green room, may come on camera with us, all of our Humanities Team friends. So lots of demographics out there. Big shout out to all of you. Thanks for being with us. We love doing these live programs, and boy, we get a special guest here like Gregg, and I'm going to tell you what his schedule is here in a second. So you'll see he really shoehorned this one. So it's very special, and just some really, really special topics that we're going to get to. Now, let me just share, because it's a live program, we get to your questions and comments and things out on social media. We have a team that's out gathering as many of those as we can out on social media. So bring in questions and comments you've got for Gregg. Earlier in the program, the better. I'll try and get those to Gregg so he can share. I've already somebody's come in with something. So thank you. I know we're going to get a lot of interaction. So our theme here today is twofold. It's from surviving to thriving. So, and in today's day and age, from surviving to thriving, we can certainly understand that theme and its application. But we're also going to talk to a 5-year guide to your future. So, which is how we go from surviving to thriving. These are the amazing new programs we've been working on with Gregg Braden since the beginning of the year. So about 10 months here that these programs have been in development. It's all baked, it's all done. The cohort is, free program is roaring now. The cohort for 5-year guide to your future is starting Tuesday. There's a virtual fireside chat day after tomorrow, Friday. So this whole thing is breaking big, and that's what we're gonna talk to you about here today. Let me now properly introduce Gregg. Gregg Braden is a 5-time New York Times best-selling author, scientist, international educator, and pioneer in the emerging paradigm bridging science, social policy, and human potential. Gregg's research and expertise ranges from archaeology to biology as he tells the new story of humanity and our potential. As an internationally respected thought leader, Gregg has presented his discoveries in over 34 countries on 6 continents and has been invited to speak to the United Nations, Fortune 500 companies, and the U.S. military. Today, Gregg and I will be discussing how you can go from surviving to thriving and the technologies that are going to shape your future. Gregg has recently collaborated with Humanities Team to create an amazing free online video program. It's a 60-minute program called From Surviving to Thriving. It's available now. We'll tell you how you can register for that, as well as this amazing 8-week masterclass. It's called A 5-Year Guide to Your Future. This is the one launching next Tuesday with the virtual fireside chat in 48 hours on Friday morning. So we're going to talk about all of that and more. And Gregg, again, so good to be with you. The shoehorn, by the way, is Gregg got back not that long ago from Paris, a big tour over there. And then Sunday, he's off for this Holy Land tour. Probably some of you are going to go over and join him on the Holy Land with Bruce Lipton over there. So he's shoehorned all of this in here, and we're grateful to have you, Gregg, before you fly out of town again on Sunday.
Well, thank you, Steve, so much. First, I want to say thank you and welcome to our community, everyone that's tuning in live right now, sharing a part of your day with us. Steve, I want to thank Humanities Team, and it is a team behind the scenes that makes this kind of program and these kinds of courses possible. And Steve, it is a tight schedule, and I'm going to be honest, it was tighter than we thought it was going to be because we're still dealing with cancellations and postponements of events over the COVID shutdowns that have been kicked down the road year after year after year. So that's why we have so many events jammed up in such a short period of time here. But this is an important conversation, Steve, and that's why I felt it was worth certainly the time and the energy to make this content possible. And this is an unscripted program we're doing today. Steve, can I talk a little bit about why I feel like this program is important and what it means to us today? Are you okay if I do that now?
Boy, please do, because I'm sure, you know, what's happening all over the world is the hand-wringing thing of, my God, we've got all these things going on. Is there any path that navigates to a beautiful future, which is what has been created here? So yes, please tell us about it, Gregg.
Well, I'm going to begin. I was doing an interview recently, and I was talking about this program, and the interviewer just looked at me and said, Gregg, why can't you just stick with one topic? You know, like everybody else. Why can't you zero in on one topic of, you know, health and healing or spirituality or, you know, heart-brain coherence or whatever? And I was a little surprised when I heard the question, but it was a good question, and my answer surprised the interviewer, because what I said is every facet of all of the topics I talk about, they represent a part of our lives, one facet of our lives. So the truth is, I am sticking to one topic. It's just a really big one. It's us, and it's our relationship to the world. So, Steve, I think it's no secret to anyone with us today that the world is changing. I mean, we all know that now. That there are multiple competing ideas about what the world should look like and what our society should look like. And there are multiple competing agendas behind those ideas. And what is different now from any time in our history is that now we have a convergence of not only the ideas and the organizations and the corporations that want to change society and the world, but now we have the technology that is available, and these are all coming together. And the bottom line is that you, myself, our community, our global family, we're seeing more change in the shortest period of time that we've ever seen in recorded human history, certainly in our lifetimes. And the world is changing now and is about to change in even grander ways than we have been prepared to accept. Psychically, emotionally, spiritually, physiologically, emotionally. So this program was designed to cover the many facets of our lives and our world that are changing, and to do so from the perspective of science, the new discoveries that give us options that we're simply not being told about in the mainstream. I'm describing discoveries that empower us with options that you're not going to hear on mainstream television, mainstream documentaries. You're not going to hear it in mainstream public schools, classrooms, or textbooks on the one hand. And on the other hand, Steve, it makes all the difference in the world when it comes to what our world is about to look like. There is a new world emerging. It's going to happen, and we can't stop it. And in many instances, I think we probably wouldn't want to stop it, Steve, because when we look at the world around us and we look at the systems that are buckling, and some of the systems are now collapsing, the financial systems, for example, energy systems, food production systems, supply chains, things like that, it can be overwhelming. But if you look close, Steve, what's really interesting is the only things that are buckling and collapsing are the things that are unsustainable. So when you see a lot of buckling and collapsing, it means we got a lot of unsustainability around us. So it could happen slowly, gradually over a long period of time. And because of global events, including COVID, it is now being compressed into a briefer period of time. So there's a new world emerging. It's going to happen with or without us. And we have a rare and precious opportunity, this little window of time, it's not going to last forever, where we have the opportunity to participate in a number of ways in sharing our voice, offering our voice in terms of what we now know is possible. But here's the catch, Steve. You can only do that if you know that there are options. You can only vote with your pocketbook, with where you buy your food, with what kind of energy you use, your finances. You can only cast that vote, and even politically, literally cast the vote, if you know that we have options, and many people simply don't know about the options. So I put this, it's a 16 module course. It covers the big pieces from health and healing. Certainly, we talk about that because that's the inner world that's changing, and our ability to create resilience in a healthy way to thrive, not just survive, but to thrive in this emerging new world, emotionally, psychically, physically, physiologically. But also, there are forms of energy that have been available to us for over 70 years that solve the problems that we're told that we have right now, including greenhouse gases and expensive forms of energy. There are new ways of growing food that are solving the problems created by climate change, where soil-based farming is a very risky business. It always has been. I have friends in my community that do this. With climate change, it's even riskier. And we want food security in the world. And we have technologies, healthy technologies that help us to do that. A lot of people don't know about those. And they're not limited to farmers. They're things that you can do in your own, you can do it in your garage, you can do it in your living room. And a lot of people don't know that these things exist. We have new financial systems, and I'm making a distinction between finances and economy. The global economy is changing. Our financial systems are tied into the global economy. We have new financial systems that now make it possible for us to create a parallel, secure, transparent financial system. Not maybe 100%. We're all still in both of those systems, the legacy systems and the new systems emerging. But the new systems are or the old systems, the legacy systems are being manipulated, Steve, and we all know that. Our currencies are being devalued. It costs more to buy the same things. The things haven't changed. It's just taking more of our currencies to buy those. And we have alternatives in terms of how we go about building the financial systems. All of this is now available and much, much more. So what I've found from my live audiences around the world is I'll ask people, I'll say, who wants a new world? And everybody will raise their hand. And I'll say, what would that world look like? And nobody's raising their hand. Or if they do, here's what they do, Steve. They take the world that we have now and the systems we have now. Some of them were broken to begin with. They were corrupt. They're based on greed. They take those ideas and they try to build on what were bad ideas to begin with. And I'm contrasting that to the possibility that we have now of imagining and creating what does this new world look like? What does localized living really mean? Localized food, localized economy, localized finances, localized sources of energy, and how do we implement those? And we can only do that. We can only hold the vision for the beautiful world that we know in our hearts is possible. We can only hold that vision in our reality if we know what it is that's possible. And that's why we put this program together. So we can talk about specifics of the module, Steve. I'm happy to do that. But in general, I wanted to say that this is a very healing program for me to bring together the opportunity to bring so many seemingly disparate pieces of information together to weave it into a meaningful story for our lives with direct applications and resources that we can use immediately. So that's why I feel it was important. And I hope that people enjoy this work as much as I've enjoyed putting it together for them. So I'll stop there, Steve, and we can dive into the modules.
Yeah, yes,
like
we will.
That.
We're going to go look at a couple of edit cuts from the masterclass here in just a second. So you're going to actually see Gregg in action. But let me first share some things. This truly, it's such a massive and powerful masterclass. Gregg, thank you for kind of sharing the arc of what is covered here. So, another way of kind of looking at this is, as you know, Ken Wilber's work is looking at these big turns in history as you go from one section of history to another to another. So in the Renaissance, of course, was one of those. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, others were involved in that big turn. And then Civil War was another big turn where there was this huge shift in kind of worldview and how we live our lives. And he shares, we're now right at this other big, massive turn where we're raising consciousness. So that's one element of what is here. Another element is Barbara Marx Hubbard liked to talk about the practical applications. She would talk about the spheres of life, where she wanted to go down into healthcare, into finance, into all of these different dimensions of life, of what does it look like when we elevate consciousness? How what are we doing? What are the practical applications? So that's what's here. This is what Gregg has designed. It's the big, massive U-turn right now where consciousness is being raised. It's the inner technology and the outer technology. He mentioned finance, mentioned agriculture. There are all of these different spheres of life where he's actually going right down into the practical application of what we can do living our lives in our home, in our communities, around the world right now as we navigate into this beautiful new future. Thus the program is called A 5-Year Guide to Your Future. And it's saying, where it's just really putting it right there, the vision, the action steps, all of it on the ground, so big, so powerful, so timely, because again, there's so many people, including in my own family, with my brothers and sisters and things, where there's just really a lot of hand-wringing of how in the heck do we journey from here? Well, here you see it. So let's go to a cut now.
Steve, I just got to chime in on something you said. This is unscripted, so I don't know if there's another place for me to do this. Right before COVID, I was doing a presentation in the Washington, D.C. area. And you never know who's going to come to a DC program. And we have a lot of political people that come to these programs, I think more out of curiosity. They just want to check it out and see, what's going on. So during one of the breaks, one of these people came to me and asked if they could talk to me behind the stage. And so we went and we had a little conversation. And it was a man. And what he said was really interesting. He said that there was a time, these are his words. He said there was a time that we thought we understood what was happening. So we being whoever the powers that be are looking at change in the world. And they have modeled and gamed out scenarios that they believed that our society would move through and that the world would move through as we go through these changes. But this is what he said to me. He goes, something has gone horribly awry is the term that he used. And he said, Gregg, because our models aren't working. The ideas that we had, the gaming theory has failed to account for something. Something is not working. And we'd like your input on what you think that might be. And I said, I don't even have to give that a second thought. I said, your models, unless they have accounted for human consciousness, cannot be accurate, because consciousness and everything we're doing in these modules, Steve, knowledge is power. Our dear friend Bruce Lipton says that so eloquently. And everything that we're doing in these modules empowers us to think of ourselves in new and different and beautiful and powerful ways. And I, as a scientist, know it's possible to raise the standard of living and uplift humanity, every woman, every child, every man on the face of the earth, without depleting the resources and without taxing the environment the way that we've been told is going to happen, and justifies so many of the policies that are causing the suffering today. So it's consciousness. And that's why I wanted to jump on to what you just said. We are elevating consciousness, certainly in many ways. Meditation is certainly a big part of that. But the knowledge of how we express our spiritual energy, our imagination, our creativity in the world through the things that we need every day in life: food, energy, water, medicine, finances, communication. Those are deeply spiritual principles, and they all speak to the consciousness that now is emerging, that they, whoever they are, they did not factor into their models. Now, I think it's fascinating. I think it's exciting. I think it's powerful. I can't imagine a more exciting time to be on the planet. So I just wanted to throw that in before we get into the specifics.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's so much. This really is an awakening, is one way to frame it, where there's this uplifting of consciousness, where our consciousness is evolving into these whole new levels, where our worldview, our applications, our way of living, even in our homes, is changing. And as you mentioned, these legacy systems are breaking down, which is what always needs to happen when there's this kind of change. You have to get breakdown. Doors need to close in order to get doors, create the room for doors to open in these beautiful new ways to live our lives, which is what this masterclass is about. So again, it's called A 5-Year Guide to Your Future. It's on the Humanity Stream Plus platform. It's just being brought there. On Tuesday is the very first day where this cohort goes through. All of Humanity's team Lots of people are signed up. There's still an opportunity to sign up for Humanity Stream Plus. And Gregg's other programs, he's got 3 other programs on the platform too: the Science of Self-Empowerment, Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution, Forbidden Science. This was a year ago, you might remember, with Nassim Harriman. In this one, this is a Gregg Braden masterclass. Nassim Harriman is a guest, Bruce Lipton is a guest, and John Peterson are guests. So unbelievably powerful. We're actually going to share the names of the modules with you. There are 2 live recorded mentoring sessions, which Humanities Team always provides. So we'll get to all of that here in just a moment. Let's go to a cut, though, from the masterclass, and then Gregg and I are going to come back and talk about it.
I'm just going to begin with change itself. You know, we are the product of a number of generations and a philosophy, a way of thinking that doesn't like change. We have been conditioned to believe that we live in a world that's static, that once we find something that works, that we create this perfect balance and everything stays just the way it is. And the truth is, anything but the truth is what we're living in, because we live in a world of constant change. Nature actually abhors balance. Now, a lot of people are surprised when they hear me say that. But if you think about balance, and perfect balance, if you think of scales that are perfectly balanced, or an ecosystem that is perfectly balanced, if it's perfectly balanced, absolutely nothing is happening. It cannot happen because there is no impetus to achieve balance. The balance prevents the change. What we're seeking, Steve, is not balance, it's harmony. We're looking for harmony. This is harmony versus balance. We're looking for harmony in our lives with the changes, harmony in the choices that we make in balancing work and personal lives and finances. It's all about harmony. So I'm just going to begin by saying the world is always in harmony, but it may not look like what we have been conditioned to expect, because we're expecting a static world, and we live in a dynamic world, a dynamic system. So the change is natural. The change is healthy. The question is, how do we respond to that change? And that's really what this program is all about.
Okay, and such a profound point. Not balance, harmony. I'm going to go to Gregg here in just one second, because this is one. There are many. The whole thing is profound. You know, when we talk about a 5-year guide to your future, again, to weave together current research, current science, current applications. Wow, you know, this was a massive job, and we're just incredibly grateful to be partnered with Gregg in this. I want to say one thing about the Stream platform, in case you're not familiar with it. I know we have Stream members here, but most people probably aren't familiar with it. We moved away from what the industry uses, which is something called LearnDash. Not that you really need to know what the technology is called, but we moved away from it because there's an 8-step process with this industry standard technology to download, you know, and look at a course. Whereas we use a true streaming platform. So it's a true one-click. We've got on the screen, if you go here to Humanity Stream Plus, you'll see this is what's teed up. It's the featured program. It's the one launching, again, Friday, a virtual fireside chat. Tuesday, the cohort begins. And one click, and you just go down, fed down into the modules. But at any point, you want to stop and want to go over to Forbidden Science and pick something up, which is actually, you might well want to do, because there's a lot in Forbidden Science, this program with Gregg and Nassim Harriman, that sets a foundation in many ways for this program that Gregg created, or into any of the other programs, and there are hundreds of programs on the platform. You can do so. Also, the Plus, the reason we call it Humanity Stream Plus is because it has live programs every day of the week. So you can come in. There's a new Qigong-based program starting on December 1st. Dr. Jonathan Ellerby, who's huge in the industry, starting his live program the first of the year. There are other incredible programs that are starting. Urban Laszlo's starting a year-round program here in January every week. Again, many programs. This was designed by us as a nonprofit organization to create, to offer all the paths to the mountaintop, I'll call it. You know, when we're conscious, It's there's only one mountaintop where we're really fully conscious, but there are hundreds of ways to get there. And Gregg Braden, with his research, offers these beautiful, powerful paths, journeys to that mountaintop, which is why we just really love partnering with Gregg. I'm going to come over to you, Gregg. So that was one, very profound. This notion people are looking for harmony, and you're saying, hey, I'm sorry, they're looking for balance, and you're saying, let's look at harmony, not balance.
Yeah, well, first, I didn't know we were going to show a clip, so it's always pretty weird to see yourself on a clip from another time, a few weeks ago, and I appreciate you sharing that, Steve. And I think it's important because that concept applies to so many things in our lives. The past few generations, we have been taught to embrace the world as a static world, and to expect that things to be the same. And the truth is, we live in a dynamic world of nature, always seeking that harmony. So when things begin to change, we're conditioned to believe something is bad, or something is broken, or something is wrong. Climate is a perfect example of this. As a geologist, we've been talking about climate change since I was a geologist in the 1970s. And letting people know that we need to expect and we need to compensate in the way that we live our lives, where we build our homes. You don't want to be building your homes, near in floodplains and waterways. It'd be good to bury the power lines in vulnerable areas of ice storms and big snowstorms in the cold winter months, because we can expect, it makes sense to expect more extreme weather for the fact that we are in climate change. Now, humans have added to it through industry, but the geologic record clearly shows that before humans existed on Earth, we only appeared 200,000 years ago. And we've got climate records going back twice that, over 420,000 years before present. The rhythms and the cycles were there, and we are in one of those right now. So this is just one example of where it makes sense to expect change, and it makes sense to expect dynamic systems. When we talk about being resilient, Steve, there's a new model of resilience that we talk about in some of our courses called adaptive resilience. The old model of resilience is where you live your life and then something comes along unexpected and it knocks you out of balance. And then your ability to regain that balance is your resilience. You're trying to get back to normal. That's the old way of thinking. The new way, the adaptive resilience, is where we live our lives with awareness and consciousness of the systems that surround us, of the fact that financial systems are in chaos, agricultural systems are in chaos, the weather systems, the climate systems, our health systems, our immune response to things that are happening in the world. All of these things are in dynamic change right now. And so it makes sense to live our lives taking those factors into account, to expect the unexpected. And the first principle of resilience is a principle called spare capacity. Nature knows this very well. Every animal, every bacteria knows how to create a buffer of what it is that is required for them to be alive and for them to survive in their daily lives, because of vulnerability. And for some reason, Steve, that has kind of been factored out of our society. We've been taught that there's this homeostasis and that things are going to be the way they always have. And when they're not, we blame other people or we blame other systems, or we get angry and we protest. You can do all that, and that's fine. But the reality is that we are living this rare, precious moment in the history of the earth for climate change, and the history of civilization for social change. And it's a time where we can really take a look at what works and what doesn't. The things that don't work, let's stop doing them. The things that do work, let's put our energy into doing more of those things. And if you take away the judgments and the politics and the greed from corporate interests and the big tech companies, if you take all that away, we've got the answers, Steve. And you and I talked about this before. It's a good news program. We have the answers to all the big problems in our world, and we've had them for many, many decades now. We have the technological solutions. Now, what we're looking for is the leadership. That leadership can only come from a change of thinking. And that change of thinking happens with each of us because we're all the leaders. We're the ones making these choices in terms of what we'll accept and the way we choose to live our lives. And again, those choices can only be made if we know what's available to us, so we can hold a new vision. We can anchor in the world what we know is possible in our hearts. And that is really where it all begins, Steve. It begins with a shift in the thinking and the ability to hold a vision of what is possible in our lives rather than holding the vision of the things that we don't like and that aren't working from the past. And that is a really powerful distinction when it comes to consciousness.
Yeah, yeah, boy, thanks for bringing that in. And people, you might have thought, viewers, and boy, we got a huge viewing audience here today. So thank you all for being here. And also, we're flooded with questions, so which we'll get to here. So, and thank you for those. But you may have thought when you came, oh, this is going to be nice. We'll kind of watch, Gregg and Steve talk. But as Gregg's bringing in, no, this is a huge level playing field here, which is called Earth, and we're all inhabitants of the Earth. And man, this is the moment. This whole shift, this paradigm shift, this pivot to a whole new way of living, it's happening right now. That's what this is. And notice when you pick up binoculars, and you first put them to your head, it's very fuzzy, and then you kind of turn the binoculars, the lenses, and then it comes right into focus, and you can see whatever it is that you're pointed at. That's what we're doing here with this masterclass. So we all kind of have a fuzzy picturing of what agriculture and finance and intertechnologies and these various things might be. Energy technology, it's kind of fuzzy. So we're going to put on our binoculars and just go right into cutting edge technologies, applications, ways of living our lives, where our lives become delicious, candidly, which is what conscious living is, where they're delicious. And then, yes, the other beautiful aspect is where we're doing this together, all of us viewers, this what I'm calling level playing field, all of us Earth inhabitants, we create this, what Bruce Lipton likes to call heaven on earth, where, it's a beautiful, glorious, sustainable, flourishing planet. That's why we're here. That's why we're all so passionate. That's why we love this masterclass, because, boy, Gregg does this in a big way. So it's called A 5-Year Guide to Your Future. Let's go look at a second. This is a cutout from the masterclass. This is where Gregg is bringing in Nassim Harriman, who's a special guest in this masterclass. Here, we'll go take a look now.
It actually is a misnomer in the question, meaning that there is no such thing that we've been able to observe as empty space. And so nothing like that has ever been found, and we've looked, like if, for instance, if you think of the largest vacuum we know of, for instance, the space between galaxies, well, even in that space, you find there's particles every few centimeters, right? So it's actually quite full. But if you were to look at the quantum space, right, like the space in the atom, for instance, where the atom is made out of 99.9999% space. So like all of your reality, all of the things you call things are actually made out of space. Well, when you look at that space, it's not empty at all. It's full of energy. It's full of fluctuation, electromagnetic fluctuation.
Okay, just a teeny little taste of what that module on these future energy technologies are. And then we mentioned also Bruce Lipton is in also this masterclass as a special guest of Gregg's, and then John Peterson in as a special guest of Gregg's. So, Gregg, I'm going to read the names of these modules because you really are going to get a sense for, when I talk about bringing the binoculars and getting clarity, you're going to feel that when I read these names here. Did you want to say something
Steve,
first?
I want to do that, but can I just give a little bit of context to what we just saw with Nassim? So we have a number of modules talking about where the energy that powers our lives and our Earth come from, the energies and technologies available now, new technologies that are available and aren't using, and ultimate technologies. And Nassim is a physicist, many of you know, and we were having a conversation, and I was asking him about how close are we to actually bringing the energy from what we call the quantum vacuum into commercial applications in our lives, in our home, and how that can come from what people call empty space. And what you heard was him clarifying that there is no empty space. And it's precisely because of that reason that this energy is available, that we're tapping. We now have, and we have had the technology to tap what is in what used to be called empty space. And so that was part of that conversation. I just want people to know that was a little context around where that was a small piece of a 30-minute conversation that's part of the course.
Yeah. I mean, and mind-blowing. Just this one little snippet where we say, no, there's no empty space and it's full of energy and we can tap that energy. I mean, stop and sit with that one. I mean, is that a mind-blowing concept or what?
It is, Steve. And then the other piece, you mentioned that the title of this course, the 5-year guide. And one of the questions people keep asking, why 5 years? Why not 10 years or 1 year? And the reason is because there is a movement to remake our world and remake society by the year 2030. We hear that from as goals in the United Nations and from some of the economic forums and things like that. A lot of tech spaces, corporations, they're all looking at this year 2030 as the time to implement this sweeping change, but they're not going to wait until the year 2029 to begin. So it's happening now. And what's happening over these next 5 years is going to set the stage and determine for all of us what kind of world we live in. And that determines how we're able to express our love, our imagination, our creativity, our innovation, to express in the world what we know is true in our hearts. All that is happening over these next few years. And I wanted people to know that we have options that we can anchor into that vision of that beautiful new world that Bruce calls heaven on earth, and the honeymoon effect. We can create a honeymoon on earth, and that we have everything already at our fingertips to do that. So that's why a 5-year guide, Steve. I just wanted to, in case someone just tuning in and has not been involved in anything else that we're doing, I wanted just to have that context as well.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, and Gregg shares there's a lead-up program to this 16-module masterclass, which I'm about to tell you about. It's called From Surviving to Thriving. And Gregg just spontaneously, unscripted, just right at the beginning. So this is the good news program, which it is. Do we love ourselves enough? And where we're conscious, yes, we do. Right? We love ourselves enough. We love the world enough. We love Earth habitants enough. We love the Earth enough. To do this. This is our basis, and we see this deep connection, even oneness. Right? But now, we're not just going to sit up here with abstract concepts. This masterclass is going right down into it of what all of these applications are and how we can live with these applications today and in the near future in our lives. That's why it's called a 5-year guide to your future. Okay, so let me just share briefly. I'm just going to read the names of these modules here for Gregg's masterclass, a 5-year guide to your future. Module 1, a new world at the speed of love, the foundation for life, healing, and innovation. Module 2, how to thrive in our world of extremes, from polarity and fear to unity thinking. Module 3, the untold story of green energy, why solar panels and windmills cannot be the answer to the world's energy needs. Module 4, the Manhattan Project Revisited, the lost bridge to clean, reliable, and sustainable energy. Module 5, tapping the power of empty space, the ultimate energy for the future. Module 6, Bitcoin, the vision, the power, the potential. Module 7, blockchain technology, the foundation of a truly free society. Module 8, compassion machines, giving human values to artificial intelligence. Module 9, pure human, we are the technology we've been waiting for. Module 10, Are we the victims of genes or masters of our biology? Module 11, the battle for our humanness, the slippery slope of transhumanism. Module 12, from human to superhuman, what are the limits of our potentials? Module 13, vertical crops, the new farming to feed a hungry world. Module 14, Earth Safe Zone, the 9 parameters that we must protect for a habitable planet, and the 3 we have already crossed. Module 15, too many people, the facts of Earth's carrying capacity, and the danger of thinking we've exceeded it. Module 16 and the wrap-up, thriving in the emerging world, where do we go from here? And then there are 2 60-minute live mentoring programs that Gregg's doing with this program, A 5-Year Guide to the Future. And then there's this fireside chat. It's in 48 hours. There's a fireside chat, so Friday, just day after Thanksgiving, in the morning, he's doing this hour-long program where he's going to talk about how we can launch into the fullness of this masterclass and get the most out of it. And for people that register today and tomorrow, you can be present in that program, that live program with him on Friday, 48 hours from now. So our virtual fireside chat, we like doing these to launch a new cohort. All of Humanity's team, a lot of people have already signed up and are going through. I think we've got a link right here that you can click and go see, preview this masterclass on the Humanity Stream Plus platform. We, just to share this, we do viewing parties. We do a lot of things different. We're a nonprofit 501c3 organization, so we do 2 viewing parties every week. So people will go through it with viewing parties, and hundreds of people will show up for the viewing parties just because they like watching the program together, a couple of the modules together on an evening. And then everybody comes in and comments and offers questions and inspirations and things. So you can go through alone during the 8-week program, which launches next Tuesday. You can go through as part of the watch parties. There are all these other live programs. It's a 12-month subscription for the price of 1 masterclass. So you're paying for the price of 1 masterclass either all at once or there's a 12-month opportunity as well if you'd rather pay monthly. And then you get this brand new masterclass, these other masterclasses of Gregg's and other new ones. Suzanne Giesman has a new one. Neil Donald Walsh and Michael Beckwith have a new one. The Dyer family and Karen Noe have a new one. So you'll see all of these on the Stream Plus platform. And then there are all the live programs every day. So it's a 12-month subscription. You're getting, for the price of 1 masterclass, you're getting this new masterclass, but you're getting 12 months of this whole heaven on earth thing that it's really a journey into conscious living. As you may know, we've set as a nonprofit the objective for 18 years from now, by 2040, to make conscious living pervasive worldwide. So how are we going to do that? Through programs like this, where we make it affordable, we bring it down into every home and every major language on the planet, so where you can't get lost when we talk about what conscious living is. It's very clear, black and white. These immersive programs, homework, experiential programs. So that's a little bit there. There are tons of questions here. We're going to now get to them. But Gregg, do you want to share anything before we jump into all these questions?
You know, Steve, I want to honor our community and get to as many of those questions as possible. I've already said a lot so far, and let's just see where the questions lead us right now. Thank you.
Okay, good. So in the green room, Elizabeth says, I'd like to hear about new, secure, transparent financial systems and localization. And I'll just say, boy, that's a big one. This masterclass goes right down into it in lots of depth and detail. But Gregg, is there any little thing we could share here about this?
Well, so let me just say this. I have, in general, I've mentioned that the technologies are now available to free humankind from the shackles and the burdens of the greed and the fear that has been so pervasive in our past that we've come to accept it in our lives. That technology is playing out in many ways, in terms of energy, in terms of food, in terms of economies, and in terms of finances. When we talk about finances, there is a technology, blockchain technology, that is in the news a lot right now, and I want to speak to that. Let me just say the blockchain technology itself is a reflection in our outer world of the way that information is transmitted and stored in our inner world. Blockchain technology mimics the way information is stored in the DNA of every cell in our bodies. As so many other technologies out there are actually mimicking what we already do in our bodies, except we do it better. So, and I talk a lot about that in this course, but blockchain specifically, in every strand of DNA in your cells right now is a record. It is a transparent, immutable record of every genetic transaction that has led up to the moment that your genome is expressing right now. That principle is what is playing out in blockchain technology. It is transparent. It has unprecedented security. We've never seen anything like this before. It is immutable. The information cannot be changed when it's out there. And that technology underlies many applications. So the blockchain technology is what makes this possible to decentralize your financial world, to make it possible for you and another person to have a peer-to-peer financial transaction without having it centralized, without having manipulated, without having it changed, or without having the privilege of your trust being abused. Now, there are applications that are using blockchain that are in the news, like the collapse of some big financial firms that have abused the power of the technology. So the technology is intact, none of the fundamentals have changed. It is human greed and the lack of regulation that has allowed that abuse. And this is an emerging technology. It's new, and you're seeing a shakeout of what works and what doesn't. But please do not let the greed of a handful of people bias you to shy away from the freedom and the sovereignty that the underlying technology allows for. And I do talk about that in 2 modules. I have one specific module talking about blockchain technology and decentralized finance and what it means. So, Steve, I'm just going to add on to this. Here's why this is important. And I want to say this to my community, my global community. We in the spiritual community and the New Thought community have been encouraged to separate money from our lives for so long. And many people have demonized the ideas surrounding money. I'm going to offer a little bit different way to think about this. We are spiritual beings expressing our lives through these physical bodies. Everything, the energy that we expend each day is our spiritual energy, and we typically put it into one of 3 things. We put our spiritual energy into producing goods that other people can use, services that other people need, or information that other people are asking for. Goods, information, and services. We are compensated with something that represents our spiritual energy, and we entrust our spiritual energy into this compensation that we call money. Well, the idea of money has changed over the years. I talk about that in the course as well. And human greed has intervened, and we are now trusting our spiritual energy to systems that have violated our trust. They betrayed our trust. And this is why I think it's important, because your spiritual energy is so precious and it's so valuable. You deserve to have your energy honored in ways that reflect your heart's desire, your freedoms, transparency, honesty, truthfulness, and factual information. That technology now is available to us, and it's going to happen in this generation. And it's already happening right now. It holds such a threat to legacy systems that there are narratives being created so that people will shy away and be afraid of these new technologies. So I'm going to invite you, it's not to choose one way or another, or right, wrong, good, or bad. I'm just going to invite you to do your due diligence and really look at the fundamentals of what we have available to us today. Look at the fundamentals of the existing system. Look at the fundamentals of what we now know is available to us through these new technologies. And then you can make reasonable and responsible, mature and informed choices. And that's really what this is all about, to know that we have those choices and to make them this is really important, to make the choices from the love of what we know is possible rather than from the fear of what happens if we don't make those choices. That is a powerful, powerful shift in thinking. Making the choices from the love in our hearts of the joy and the freedom that we know is possible, rather from the fear of competition and loss and scarcity that we've been conditioned to accept. So I'll stop there, Steve. But that is a kind of a umbrella answer to a very specific question, but it also applies to some other things that people are asking about.
Yeah, boy, what a beautiful way to frame it, Greg. That was beautiful. Because of course, you're watching, we know we're spiritual beings, right? That we're all of this interconnection, interdependence. There's actually we're an emanation of one energy that's a living and breathing energy in the universe. The program that preceded this that Gregg and Nassim put together called Forbidden Science, they just come flat out and say we're sovereign to one body. We're this spiritual energy. We're sovereign to this one body, and we can call in humanity's team, we call it the divine. Universe, cosmos, life, love, creator, it works fine. We choose our term, but it's a loving energy. Its basis is love. And also the science says that it is non-dual. Even you look out at this James Webb telescope at the beautiful galaxies out there, it's harmony, not balance, but harmony. It's beautiful. So science and spirituality are converging, and boy, Gregg's research just picks up on all of it and brings it right into focus in terms of what this means in our daily lives. So, okay, we're going to go to another question here. So this is another one in the green room. It says, can Gregg expand on his thoughts about population growth? Is it concerning, or is there a greater purpose? So this is from Bejette, Gregg.
Wow, this is a really good conversation, a really good question. I addressed this in one of the modules. What I will say to you right now is that the fear that has been generated over population growth on our planet has been used to manipulate ideas, to manipulate societies, and to cause tremendous suffering in people's lives in ways that, in my opinion, are not necessary and are not justified. When we look at the population right now, while we're building this course right now, November 15th, 2022, statistics say the 8 billionth baby was born onto the planet. We know that's not exact. There's no way to tell exactly, but approximately 8 billion people. When what the science is telling us, and the UN supports some of these, we have enough food. We do not have a problem with food production. We have more than enough food. We produce 1.5 times the amount of food we need to feed every mouth of every child, woman, and man on the face of the earth. It's not the lack of food that's causing the suffering. It's the thinking that has yet to make it a priority to get that food where it is needed. That same principle applies to land mass. We have more than enough land. It applies when you exclude the mountains and the deserts that are difficult to live in. We have more than enough land for the population we have now. When you look at the water, fresh water is a rare and precious resource. We have more than enough fresh water if it were distributed and given the priority to get to the people it needs. UN says we've got this food through the year 2050, which is an interesting year because the population statistics show that human population will peak right around the year 2050 at 10 billion people, just a couple of billion more than we have right now. Here's where it gets alarming, and what a lot of people are not talking about. Earth is actually in population decline, and the fertility rate of humans across the earth is alarmingly declining for reasons that are surprising a lot of scientists. Just to maintain the population, every woman on earth would need to produce to have 2.1 babies. And that's what's called the replacement rate. We've already dropped below that. So more people are dying than are being born right now. We have the resources we need to support everyone on the earth that we have right now. The concern is what's going to happen in the future. When I say fertility rates, it's both male and female. The sperm count for men in 1975 was about 90 million sperm per milliliter, I believe is the unit that they're using, 90 million. In 2011, it dropped, and in 2000, it dropped to 47 million. And in 2021, it dropped to 40 million sperm per milliliter, 40 million sperm per milliliter. This is alarming because that is right where conception becomes difficult. It's considered a low sperm count, 40 million. So we're now at that point or below, and all of these are being attributed to environmental toxins, what are called anti-androgens. I talk about this in the course. It's in our foods, it's in our water, it's in our cooking utensils, it's in our cosmetics. It's also being attributed to a number of other factors, too much to go into right here. So the point is, all to say that certainly population is always a concern. We have to be careful. The danger of sounding an alarmist bell over a growing population and justifying policies that hurt people and cause suffering is not supported by the evidence that's out there. And I'm going to invite people, again, do your due diligence. Don't fall prey to the alarmist policies that hurt our brothers and sisters. And we need to use common sense. But the statistics right now are showing that humankind actually is in danger. If this trend continues, what we're finding is conception is going to become more and more difficult, and that opens the door to a very different vision of our future and of our world. So, Steve, it's hard to do justice to this conversation in just a few brief moments. And I know some of the things I'm saying are counter to what we're hearing in the mainstream. They're counter to what my biology friends are writing to me about right now. But I have to be honest, this is what the statistics are showing right now. I was surprised when I saw them. And I think it's something we need to take into consideration, because policies are being written, laws are being created, and society is being asked to think in a certain way based on beliefs that right now are based in information that's not supported by the data.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So what a great encapsulation of just the wisdom here when we talk about population growth and where our concerns should be. So thank you for that, Gregg. Okay, the next question, there actually are many different permeations of this question being asked by many different people, including actually on our Facebook page, the Humanities Team Worldwide Facebook page. There were a number of questions that were similar to this earlier this week also. And the questions have to do with, Gregg, you make the statement that the solutions are here now. So, and Harlan, I think, kind of frames this well. Harlan says, is it like anything else? We have the solutions, we simply don't want to act on them. So he's trying to guess where you say we have the solutions. What people are trying to understand, do we really have them? What's this about?
One of the things I was asked a few years ago at a conference, someone asked me, Gregg, why don't you bring together the thinkers, the scientists, the engineers, the religious leaders, the political leaders, and get everybody together in a room and solve the problems of the world? And what I had to say is I didn't do it, but that has already happened. And it's happened a couple of times in the 60s and the 70s when the solutions we've had the technology. Unfortunately, there are other parameters. There's politics, there's greed, there are competing agendas from different groups and organizations and nations over what the future of Earth should look like. And the solutions, the technological solutions that have been chosen to support certain visions and agendas. Well, I'm just going to give a perfect example. When I was working in the energy industry, I was a geologist in the 1970s. In the 1970s, there were carburetors that were required on all gasoline internal combustion engines. There were carburetors that were designed to get over 90 miles to the gallon. And those were not allowed to be made commercially available because of the impact to the energy industry. If your car back in the night, if you've got a muscle car a Mustang GT or a Pontiac GTO or Dodge Challenger. I'm reliving my muscle car years here. But if you've got those, and they're getting 10 miles a gallon, and that creates a demand for fuel. And all of a sudden, we've got carburetors now that are getting 90 miles a gallon. What does that do to the demand of fuel? I'm using that as one specific example for what has happened in many different areas. The technologies are available, and for whatever reasons, typically they are economic or philosophical. And this is important because the technologies are adopted that support the philosophy of what we as a society claim that we want our world to look like. And if we do not participate, it makes us vulnerable to the ideas and the visions and the philosophies of others who are more than willing to participate. And that's why it's so important that we become active participants now that we know about some of these technologies that are available to replace, fossil fuels for energy while still producing zero greenhouse gases and honoring the environment. Or when it comes to the human body, Steve, this is something we can all do, is to understand that we literally are a highly advanced, technologically sophisticated, soft technology, not computer chips and chemicals and wires and sensors. We are neurons and cell membranes, cell receptors, and crystalline structures in the blood and the bone. And that we self-regulate and we upgrade and we identify and repair and heal and rejuvenate. We can do it on demand. And this changes the narrative of how we live our lives in the world. It frees us from living in the fear of what may happen to choosing a way of living and a way of life that allows us to love without fear. And when we do that in here, Steve, those ideas and that philosophy are reflected in the way we think about society. They're reflected in the technologies that we ask for, in the technologies that we demand, in the technologies that we embrace in the world around us, because our worldview has shifted from one of scarcity, lack, and fear to one of abundance, one of innovation, creativity, imagination based in love. And it's hard to separate what's happening in here from the world out there. That world is a reflection of the way that it's our story, the way we've been taught to think of ourselves. And so now there's a new human story emerging. This course is just a small part of that, Steve. And there are a lot of people doing a lot of good work to help us to write the new human story. And it's a beautiful, powerful story of hope and possibility. And that's why it's the Good News program. So it was a long answer to a short question, but I wanted to say those things because I want to leave our community with a sense. I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist. And I'm optimistic about our future. Realistically, we're in the change. And the only way out of it is to go through it. The question is, do we go through it from a place of thriving, or do we go through it from a place of just surviving? And knowledge is power. And the knowledge that we're sharing and other people, there are a lot of people sharing a lot of knowledge, it empowers us to choose love and to choose that thriving and to reflect that in our policies and our politics that bring us together for the vital resources that we need every day in our lives. So that's where this all comes together, Steve, in a really beautiful way. Science, policy, politics, human potential, it all comes together as what we call life. And so here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So beautiful. And let me share, Gregg often brings in, the aspect of on demand. We can do it on demand. One of the examples, there are many examples he brings in when he talks about how the on demand works. One was where he was bringing in the heart math research of mother and baby, where there was a cohesion there between mother and baby that the heart math research detected and brought in exactly what that cohesion was, how it worked, what was going on demand, and then applying that to other parts of our life, how we can, even now, like right now, there's you viewers and Gregg and I, where there's a cohesion between us, an on-demand thing that's happening, where we can actually create this cohesion between any group or the whole of the earth or the whole of the cosmos. it extends to the smallest group and the largest group that we can do on demand. So, but I love the way you bring in these examples of what that means, because of course it sounds so appealing, but then you go down into the research of, no, this is how the on-demand thing works. This is how the cohesion is created. So you'll get that in this masterclass. You'll get it in all of Gregg's programs, actually in his books too, and his tours. So a 5-year guide to your future. We've just kind of gotten to a little taste of it here during this program. You know, again, 48 hours from now, Gregg is going to be doing his virtual fireside chat with people that register today or tomorrow. You could register. You really want to do it by tomorrow night, and then you'll be given the link to this program that starts, I think it's at 10 a.m. Pacific on Friday. This is the virtual fireside chat. And then on Tuesday next week, the very first cohort, all of Humanity's team, all of these people that have already signed up, those of you that desire to do so, we'll launch the program Tuesday next week, and then it's an 8-week program, though you could go through in a couple of weeks if you wanted, and come back through as many times as you like. And we encourage you to, all of Gregg's programs, check out Forbidden Science in particular, this most recent one with Nassim Harriman and Gregg Braden. We'd encourage you to check that out, because there's a basis there of science that really nicely supports all of what Gregg has put together here. So with that, there's so much more we could share, but we've, again, given you a little taste. I thank you for being here with us. Happy Thanksgiving to you, those of you in the U.S., those of you over in Europe. Boy, maybe you're joining Gregg for his Holy Land tour. I guess that's launching here next week. So thanks for being with us. Next week, we've got, we're going to start an hour later, so at 10 a.m. Pacific on November 30th, Neil Donald Walsh, a special guest, Deborah Poneman, Jude Curvan, a bunch of others are coming in. We're going to talk about this initiative that Humanity's team, Neil Donald Walsh, the Conversations with God Foundation, and many of our partners support. It's called Changing Humanity's Future through Conscious Community and Transformational Education. It's an 18-year project to make conscious living, which is what we could be calling this, where we talk about all of this aspect of, that we are spiritual beings and navigating this journey to another way of living in our homes, in our communities, and in the world. So this, we're going to bring it all together, bring into focus what this initiative is, what progress we've made, what steps are out in front of us. It starts at 10 a.m. Pacific next Wednesday the 30th. It's live, unscripted. Join us for that program if you like the idea. It's going to be a really powerful, really important program. So I'll come back to just hope, I know a lot of viewers are here in the U.S., so enjoy your Thanksgiving. Gregg, thank you so much for being with us here today. And we're going to pull the camera back just so I can thank Gregg brought in. There's a huge team, actually, that supports us here in Humanity's team. Jim Gray is right here in the studio. So that's me on the couch. That's Gregg over there that made this program work so simple and easy for Gregg. So Timothy, Noah, all the folks that are back there supporting this program, thank you very much. So, hey, with that, we better sign off and just offer you all love, peace, and blessings. We do love ourselves enough, and let's go do it. Let's go live this glorious lives in these next 5 years and beyond. Hooray. Let's go.
Well, thank everyone. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Love you all. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving. Love you all. Yeah, thank you.